Fox News was forced to report, likely to Trump, right to Trump through the television, on a massive loss legally, which is that Trump is desperately trying to follow through on his retribution promise, that people who have wronged him in his past are going to see legal persecution, and a judge threw out the DOJ's prosecutions headed up by Lindsay Halligan, who's a disaster. She's been sticking her foot in her mouth over and over and over again. Threw it out because, according to the judge, the appointment of Lindsay Halligan was illegal. They're trying to make Lindsay Halligan illegal, Elon would say. So here's Fox News having to break the news to Trump.
Leslie, forgive me, but we have some breaking news. We'll come right back. A Fox News alert. The case against former FBI Director James Comey is getting dismissed. The judge ruling the appointment of interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan violated the Constitution.
True.
The judge also criticized the DOJ for allowing an FBI agent who viewed Comey's privileged materials to testify to the grand jury. Now, the judge also tossed the case against Letitia James.
Ooh! So I think, what are the cases? Adam Schiff, James Comey, Letitia James, John Bolton? Maybe those. And now two of them just got... Now they're going to challenge this and try to still re-up it and all of that. But this is good news because these were so obviously political. And not just political, but I don't know as much about the Letitia James case, but we talked a lot about the Comey one. Like, not even a case. The prosecution's ridiculous. Federal judge Cameron McGowan Curry dismissed the charges against ex-FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, saying that Lindsay Halligan's selection was not lawful. Ms. Halligan had no lawful authority to present the indictment. I will grant Mr. Comey's motion and dismiss the indictment without prejudice. Big stuff and so much more to talk about in this segment. While we do, please click the subscribe button right below the video. It's free, but I appreciate it greatly. Here's Fox saying, "Arg,"
when it comes to that issue.
Right. Do we foresee at all then an appeal or a different then prosecution, a second bite of the apple then with procedural things intact?
I would just, yes, it's a 29-page opinion. I was just reading through it. So sorry if I look distracted during our segment. It doesn't get to the claim of malicious prosecution that Jim Comey was making. So this is solely the appointments clause, and that's why you have both cases dismissed against both individuals.
Right.
And it is kind of interesting, though, because obviously that's kind of a fluke side ruling, not on the merits of the case. But it is kind of interesting how all of these fluke side rulings always tend to seem to go in the same direction.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
Are you meaning to say that a lot of rulings, when Trump is fumbling stuff or his cronies are fumbling things, seem to rule against them? Yes, I agree. I agree he keeps losing legal battles. Is that because it's rigged or because he's the one doing things wrong? I guess that's up to us to decide. Remember that he goes, well, the merits weren't evaluated, which is true. This was about Lindsay Halligan bringing this case specifically. But I'm a little disappointed because I want the merits of the Comey case and probably Letitia James too to be litigated because it would be even more humiliating for the Trump administration. James Comey is being prosecuted for lying under oath way back in like the 1920s. No, I think it was 2020. And he supposedly lied about approving of a leak to the media about the FBI's investigation into something related to Hillary Clinton, which that leak benefited Trump. And there's plenty of evidence to contradict that Comey lied and approved of such leak, as opposed to it just happening from somebody else in the FBI. And it's so grasping at straws. I don't even think it's true, but even if it were, it's grasping at straws. And I don't think it's true, which is crazy. That's what they could get. You would think he would have something else, which, credit to him. This was the skeleton in his closet That's a clean closet. Bobby, on the other hand, has told us he has so many skeletons in his closet that if they all could vote, he would be elected president of the world. Comey is not like that. He's very skeleton free. No word yet on what poems he writes to his lovers like Bobby. The American Canyon. Bobby describing his harvest, which is exactly what you think it is. I don't have no word on Comey's love letters, but here's his response.
I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence, and a reflection of what the Department of Justice has become under Donald Trump, which is heartbreaking. But I was also inspired by the example of the career people who refused to be part of this travesty. It cost some of them their jobs, which is painful.
Remember, you had the prosecutor, the U.S. attorney, going, I can't bring these cases, they're ridiculous. And so then Trump said, bye-bye, and put Lindsay Halligan in.
But it preserved their integrity, which is beyond price. And I know they will serve again. I was very lucky that some of the best lawyers in America stepped forward to represent me. I hope they serve as an example to more and more lawyers, especially at some of the big firms, to participate in protecting our liberty, protecting the rule of law. And my family and friends were always with me, and luckily for me, include some of those great lawyers. This case mattered to me personally, obviously, but it matters most because a message has to be sent that the President of the United States cannot use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies.
So there is that. You remember when they mistook federal cases that had plenty of basis for Biden weaponizing his DOJ against Trump, even though the reason Trump never served any time for the classified documents and for trying to steal an election was because Biden's DOJ, I should say, was so hesitant to bring a case. Biden was staying so far away from it. Merrick Garland was dragging his feet so much his toes fell off because they were petrified to bring a case against Trump. And they wasted so much time being petrified that the case was brought too late and it wasn't able to be fully litigated before the election, and then Trump won and was able to kill those cases. So that MAGA mistook for political weaponization that wasn't, that was actually, if anything, fingers being put on the scale in Trump's benefit. You never thought of that, MAGA, huh? That, they said, was horrible because you should never weaponize the DOJ against your political opponents, which Biden didn't. And now Trump is overtly sending out what he thought was a DM to Pam Bondi that he posted publicly saying, go after these people. Overtly getting her to, I guess, allegedly illegally appoint Lindsay, whatever the face, and to go after his enemies. And they're not, MAGA's not seeing that as wrongful political persecution. That's weird to me. I don't know. It's strange. It's bizarre. It's confusing. It doesn't feel consistent, but maybe they don't care about consistency. They just care about power and retribution. Meanwhile, speaking of political opponents being targeted, you remember that video where Democrats who were veterans were saying, reminder, you as a service member, if you're in the military, you do have the right and the obligation to defy illegal directives from whoever, including the president. If they're brazenly against the law, your obligation to the law, not to the person. Which is true. It's very complicated, but it is true. And Trump went nuclear, and he said seditious behavior punishable by death about elected Democrats, senators, members of Congress, reminding military members of their obligation. Pretty uncontroversial veto, actually, if you think about it. And I'm about to show you in a little bit Trump disproving his entire argument on accident. So it's not just me saying Trump was wrong. Trump accidentally said Trump was wrong. But first, you now have the Pentagon investigating Mark Kelly over that video and threatens a court-martial The Pentagon statement read, the Department of War has received serious allegations of misconduct against Mark Kelly, who's a senator, and served in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice and other applicable regulations. A thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or administrative measures. This is authoritarianism. Just going to say it. Doesn't mean we're all the way to the extreme of what it could be. Not even close. But this is it. Not near it. It. There was a statement from the Department of War. All service members are reminded that they have a legal obligation under the UCMJ to obey lawful orders, and that orders are presumed to be lawful. A service member's personal philosophy does not justify or excuse the disobedience of an otherwise lawful order. They said illegal orders. They didn't say lawful orders. Now, you want to see something batty? Real batty. Trump was in a Truth Social storm and rage, justifying all that he's doing on this and other things. And he's just seeing things on Truth Social, reposting them, seeing them, reposting them, posting images. And he posts an image. I guess this is at the military academy. Loyalty to the Constitution is a plaque they have. Trump posts it. Trump posted this. Why? Because look at what it reads. While many other nations, he posted it, have suffered military coups, the United States never has until Trump. Not successfully. Our American Code of Military Conflict, or officers, must obey the law. Many other nations have adopted our principle of loyalty to the basic law. Wait. Hold. This is the important part. Our American Code of Military Obedience requires that should orders and the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law. Let me read that again. This is what Trump accidentally posted. Should orders, meaning from the higher-ups, should orders and the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law over the orders. Over the orders I just added, but that's what it says. Obey the law. So which is the whole thing. So he needs to be court-martialed. He just committed treason, right? It's seditious, they told us. It's seditious to remind service members that their obligations to the law, even above orders. Trump just did the same thing that the Democrats did in their video. That's what this says. One more time. Our American Code of Military Obedience requires that should orders and the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law. That's literally what the Democrats said. Investigate Trump then. No, of course not. That plaque, he didn't even have time to read clearly, or his reading comprehension so bad he couldn't understand it, says what it is that all this controversy is about. You had Mark Kelly responding. It's just I'll just read the ending part. If this is meant to intimidate me and other members of Congress from doing our jobs and holding this administration accountable, it won't work. I've given too much to this country to be silenced by bullies who care more about their own power than protecting the Constitution. That's the photo that he attached. Trump doesn't know anything about service. Nothing. Doesn't even understand the feeling. Thinks that you're a loser if you would give your life to the country. Then you have his lackeys like Lisa McClain, who just watch how she tries to defend this.
I'm going to turn to domestic politics. Several of the Democratic lawmakers featured in a video urging members of the military to disobey illegal orders say that they have received bomb threats after President Trump accused them of, quote, seditious behavior punishable by death. I want you to listen and to watch what your Republican colleague in the Senate said about that. Let's listen.
Everybody knows that the president is famous for his unfiltered social media. But if you take at face value the idea that calling your opponents traitors and then specifically saying that it warrants the death penalty is reckless, inappropriate, irresponsible. There are a number of other ways to describe it, but it's not something that is helping the country heal wounds. I think it stirs things up, and really I think we can do better.
Do you agree with Senator Paul there?
No, what I agree with is what the president did. The president actually brought attention to the seriousness of the video that the Democrat senators put together. Think of what the Democrat senators are doing.
We don't need to hear this again. Lisa says what he did really was genius, because in this world we have TikTok, right? People are watching TikTok, then they're being told that they could go viral by suffocating themselves. And so they get a friend, Ralph, to plug their nose and grab their mouth until they pass out. And then some of them die. And then the next person says, well, I won't do that, so I need to go viral by munching on a Tide Pod and see if that worked, right? Then people have passed. So there's all this that's being competed with in this world of TikTok and Twitter and goldfish brain. We're all distracted. That Trump's genius is that he was able to get people's attention off of those things, off of Sydney Sweeney and her controversy or whatever, her beef with Zendaya, off of Wicked and the press tour of Cynthia and Ariana. And is it too much touching? Is it not enough touching? Off of all of these things to focus on the gravity of what the Democrats said. That's what he was doing. It was actually genius. It reminds me of whenever JD Vance was like, okay, yeah, maybe the cats eating the cats and dogs thing was a little bit, wrong. But what we have to do sometimes is create stories to get attention to issues. And the underlying issue was that immigrants. It's like, wait, what? No, that's not true. You don't have to do that. You don't have to call for the death of people to get people attention to a video you didn't like. Lisa McClain is a pedophile and a murderer. Hey, while you're here, I don't know if that's true, but I just wanted to get your attention. I think Lisa McClain was really dishonest in that clip, and I just wanted to bring attention to that with the aforementioned statements. Don't hold me to those statements. They were trying to get your attention. Then, meanwhile, Marjorie Greene's out, resigned, or she's going to leave in January, right after she gets her pension. And other Republicans are saying it's not just her, that there's more. Furious House Republican warns more explosive resignations are coming after Marjorie Taylor Greene. You have these anonymous sources saying it's about to get worse. No one likes the situation that we're in. It's depressing. We're mad at Mike Johnson. Quote, this entire White House team treated all members like garbage, all. And Mike Johnson has let it happen because he wanted it to happen. That is the sentiment of nearly all appropriators, authorizers, hawks, doves, rank and file, the lawmaker said, a poem of some sort there. He blasted what he called the arrogance of this White House team, accusing them of running members roughshod and threatened, while denying them even little wins like announcing small grants or even responding from agencies. It's so interesting. They're like, hey, we gave up all of our power to Trump and we said, we will be your bitch. We'll be your bitch. You want us to be your bitch? We'll be your bitch. And we don't like it now. So we chose to make him our total and complete leader and say Congress doesn't have any power, and we didn't fight back whenever he was illegally cutting off funds to programs Congress had lawfully appropriated, whenever he was using tariff authority in legal ways, and when he was ignoring due process. And now we feel irrelevant because no one cares about us because Trump took all of our power because we gave it to him. Yeah, we told you not to do that, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, we told you. But then he said this, not even high profile, the rank and file random members are more upset than ever. Or they are. I misread that. Members know they are going into the minority after the midterms. Ooh. And then finally, more explosive early resignations are coming. It's a tinderbox. Morale has never been lower. Mike Johnson will be stripped of his gavel and they will lose the majority before this term is out. So this claim from one of the lawmakers is the majority is getting so narrow now because now Marjorie's out. Maybe they should bring back George Santos because it's so narrow that there will be more resignations because people are so done with it that they could even lose their majority to Democrats before the midterms. That seems a little too good to be true. So I'm not telling you that. I don't really think that's going to happen. But I do believe if the world makes even 1% sense, which it doesn't sometimes, but hopefully right now, then they'll definitely lose it in the midterms. You remember Trump was going to sell a phone? What happened to his phone? Let me pull this up. I already had it up. It's not a random thought. Trump phone is nowhere to be seen 3 months after release date. Weird. So he was going to release T1, patriotic smartphone. And you remember they said it's going to be made in America. And then the people were like, wait, really? Because it seems like it's getting sourced elsewhere. And they went, well, we will... we're going to have a really strong marketing office in America or something like that. The project, first announced by the president's sons, Don Jr. and Eric in June, was intended to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Trump's first presidential campaign. And I guess it hasn't actually rolled out. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. This is how you get the ladies. You whip out your Trump phone. You say, you do this. Ready? Ready? Yeah, I know. So based. MAGA! And you hold up to your ear like this. You're at a bar, right? And then you make sure they see it. And then once you get their attention because they see the big gold T1, you go, oh my gosh, I know. I wish I were Bubba too. Oh my, yes. All right, MAGA, love you. Bye. Bye. Okay, bye. Now you got their attention. And then you look at them and you go, may I meet you? That's what you do. Okay? That's what you do. So just advice, but apparently that hasn't rolled out, so you can't do it yet. And then, do I want to do this? Is this segment I'm seeing has been 21 minutes? Is that this segment we're in right now? Wow. I have so much more, so I'm just going to keep going. But apologies for how long this has gone. Here is the Ag Secretary, Brooke Rollins, saying, hey, we've gotten inflation down. Because it's 2.9%. Let's see.
Do you see the administration getting down to 2% with inflation, or the Fed, whoever you give it credit to?
Well, I really appreciate the question. The structure of what's happening is incredibly positive. Where inflation, the latest numbers were down to 2.9%. To your point, after having been at a high of 9%, average of 5% in Joe Biden, we're already down to 2.9%.
That was about where it was when Biden left, though.
Well, that's right, but it's continuing to come down. We've seen.
So they did this where inflation had been cooling, and they blamed Biden for the peak that would have happened under any president at all post-pandemic because it happened globally. Trump worsened the underlying conditions that ultimately led to such a spike. And then Biden actually ended up handling it, or his administration or whatever. The auto pin. All right, shut up. Whatever it was, handled it well and better than we could have predicted, better than our counterparts in the world. Then it's going way down. Woo! Trump takes over and goes, look, I got inflation down, and then reverses the trend and starts pushing it again. I don't know how much credit we should give for that. Ron Filipkowski said, when Trump administration officials get asked why a certain sector of the economy is so bad, 90% of the time their answers begin with, we inherited. Did everyone forget about what Biden inherited in January 2021? What about what Obama inherited in 2009? When are Republicans ever responsible? Never, Ron. Never. Unless it's good, then you can give them credit. Then Justin Wolfer has said the president has put tariffs on the whole economy in an effort to revive manufacturing. It's not working. And there is the chart, a very powerful chart, I should add.